Can I get your email so I could send you my homework, which is on Google Docs? Because I couldn't access Nearpod.
My homework is never on Nearpod. It's a Google form.
I mean, yeah, Google Forms. I couldn't access Google Forms.
Why? Because the internet was down?
No, because I had technical difficulties with my laptop.
Yes, I will send my email in the chat right now. Racine.
My question is that you said we're gonna do a similar thing like in reading. We're gonna use Nearpod to do our question. The answers for the reading questions.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. But I will let you all know that when that time comes. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with a little bit of review. What did we talk about? Well, yesterday we talked about President Kennedy and kind of his influence in the Cold War. And your homework was on the space race. Can I have a volunteer to tell me about the space race? What is it? And how does it relate to the Cold War? Marcus. Hold on one second. Go ahead, Marcus.
We know that the space race was it was when NASA was created, and when NASA was created, they had the project called the Corona, and I know
that is not that significant. I know that it was very interesting, but that is not the big takeaway. Continue.
that's all I remember for now.
What is the space race? What is the space race? How does that connect to the Cold War? Omar, I see you. I see you. I see you. Love the
So the space race connects to the Cold War because, as we know, the Cold War is between the Soviet Union and the U.S. And the space race was just to prove which country had like better technology, better military skills, and so on.
Mhm.
So the first one like basically to get there, which end up being the U.S. It proves like they're better than the Soviet Union because the Cold War was just a series of wars.
Mhm.
Some like not like versus like what they can build and all that, and they were just basically to prove which one is better because after coming out of World War II, they were both superpowers.
Great. Thank you so much, Hassan. Coming to you. Go ahead.
Okay, so space race is when US and the Soviet Union were battling to see who would get to the moon first. And the US won that. And the reason why it connects to the Cold War is because it still involves them competing against each other to see which nation is better. And this is one of many activities that would which nation is better.
Thank you so much, Racine. Did you or is your hand up?
Yeah. What I said for that one is that it kind of this space race kind of pushed people to people's limits, cause like it's all about you want to get there first and everything, and so you need to continuously bring like advanced and more advanced technology. So yeah.
Great, thank you. So it seems like we have a
Somebody muted you.
You're muted.
Sorry. Thank you. What you guys said was absolutely correct. And what I was just saying is that during this time period where you have this space race, and particularly things like the nuclear arms race, it was a really dangerous time period, right? Where you have these two nations that are competing, and it became kind of dangerous. We're going to talk about kind of the greater context of the Cold War and then go into this policy. It's something called détente, which you guys should understand by the end of the lesson. So if you can go ahead and turn to our first text for today. I will post actually, I'm just going to share my screen so that we can all be looking at it together. Let me pull it up. 1 second. Share screen, and we're going to this text here. So everyone, this first text is about the Cold War, generally speaking. Can I have Marcus go ahead and read the first paragraph? You should be able to follow along right on the screen. Hassan, you will read the next one.
During World War II, the Soviet Union and the nation of the West worked together to defeat Nazi Germany. After the war, the Allies had to decide how to divide control over Europe. Much of the Eastern Europe was controlled by the Soviet Union, which put communist governments in place. Democratic governments were established in Western Europe. During these years, a great distrust developed between the Soviet Union and the democratic nations in the West.
Next to Hassan.
Within a few years, the communist countries in Eastern Europe had built strong defenses and tried to isolate their citizens from the West by preventing travel and controlling the spread of information and ideas. Winston Churchill, who led Great Britain during World War II, said that the Soviets had built an iron curtain between the communist countries and the West.
2 paragraphs. Go ahead. Continue.
This mistrust between the United States and the other Western democracies and the communist dictatorships grew into a conflict called the Cold War. This was a conflict between 1945 and 1989 in which Western democracies and Eastern communist countries competed for power without using their armies directly against one another. Although they did not fight each other directly, the United States and the Soviet Union built up their armies and weapons to discourage the other side from attacking. This buildup, called the arms race, included new missiles that could fly to target hundreds of miles away and attack with nuclear bombs. It also led to new advancements in airplanes and jets, tanks, and many other weapon systems.
Thank you. Amira.
During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and China supported groups that wanted to establish communist governments in their own countries. The Soviet Union and China spent money supplying even their own advisors and soldiers to many countries throughout the world to spread communist ideas. The United States and other Western countries decided to fight the spread of communism by supporting governments and political groups that opposed communism. The tensions between the Western democracies and the communist powers set the stage for 2 key battlegrounds, Korea and Vietnam.
Thank you so much. Thanks for our readers. So we're going to answer this question down here. I'm going to go ahead and give you the link to the Nearpod and give you the code so that everyone can sign on. And then you're going to see this first question here. How did the United States and the Soviet Union fight each other, right, during this war? I want to make sure that you guys are all engaged. Some of you guys here are just kind of looking off into the distance. So let's make sure that we are all there and focused. So you should have the code now, and you should be able to go ahead and respond using evidence from that first text that we just read. How did the United States and the Soviet Union fight each other without using armies, right? How did this impact the Cold War as a whole? You guys don't have the answers. Oh, there we go. They're starting to come in. Artisan, they tried to build their armies together to discourage each other. They fought each other through. They fought each other by supporting. Great. I'm starting to see the responses come in.
Miss EJ,
Yes, dear.
can you please resend the code and the link because it kind of took me out.
Yep. I'm gonna scroll up for you guys. Thank you, Amir, for asking. There you go, so you can see the whole text. All right, I see some hands up. Amir, what's your question? Or we're seeing.
I wanted to read out my answer.
I'm not seeing that many answers in coming in yet. Let's get these in quickly, guys.
Okay.
Jalen said they fought each other by using their armies in a fight to express their ideologies. Great. Vincent, this word wants a cold word. Great. Excellent, Vincent. All right, I see them coming in. I see them coming in. Anyone wants to share? Go ahead and raise your hand. We're seeing. Oh, sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right, so they quote unquote fought by constantly building their armies, which scared the other person to attack, which led to the armed races. And then this is a support of the Cold War, because you know that the Cold War, it wasn't actually a war, but it was a battle of I think beliefs. And then this is how it shows their battle of beliefs by not fighting physically, but like fighting with like their words and actions.
Yeah, excellent. Josh.
Oh, and also my thing didn't send. Like it stopped working and it just kicked me from it.
Okay, will you share it out loud?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
I can't see my answer either. Like, for some reason, there's someone else's answer on my screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, I can read yours. Josh, I'm sharing yours now. It says, in Europe, an Iron Curtain was built between Britain and Soviet Union. The U.S. and USSR had a conflict and didn't directly attack each other through their military. The United States and Soviet Union built up their armies and weapons to discourage the other side from attacking. This buildup caused the arms race, including new missiles that could fly targets hundreds of miles away and attack nuclear bombs. It also led to new advancements in airplanes and jet attacks and many other weapons. Thank you. All right. So you guys did a really good job. This is a lot of review. We're going to move on to this policy. It's something called détente. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down in our reading because we answered that. By the end of the text, you should understand what détente is and be prepared to do the same kind of process. Tanai, can you start us off, please, with the first paragraph? You have to, I don't know why this muting thing is not working today. Are you able to unmute yourself tonight? No? Okay. Sir, go ahead.
All right.
Détente.
Denite, a French word meaning
Détente.
A French word meaning release from tension is a name given to a period of unprovided relations between the United States and the Soviet Union that began tentatively in 1971 and took decisive form when President Richard M. Nixon visited the Secretary General of the Soviet Communist Party, Leonid I. Brezhnev, May 1972.
Go ahead and pick Michelle.
Both countries stood to gain if trade could be increased and the danger of nuclear warfare reduced. In addition, Nixon, a candidate for re-election, was under fire at home for those demanding social change, racial equality, and an end to the Vietnam War. The trip to Russia, like his historic trip to China a few months earlier, permitted him to keep public attention focused on his foreign policy achievements rather than his domestic problems. Nixon's trip to China had also heightened the Soviets' interest in Diente, given the growing agnosticism between Russia and China. Brezhnev had no wish to see his potent rivals close ranks against him.
Excellent. Miss Rachel, last one. As you stuff your face. Hassan.
On May 22nd, Nixon became the first U.S. president to visit Moscow. He and Brezhnev signed 7 agreements covering the prevention of accidental military clashes, armed control as recommended by the recent Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, SALT, cooperative research in a variety of areas, including space exploration and expanded commerce. The SALT Treaty was approved by Congress later that summer, as was a 3-year agreement on the sale of grain to the Soviets. In June 1973, Brezhnev visited the United States for Summit 2. This meeting added new agreements, but did symbolize the two countries' continuing commitment to peace. Summit 3 in June 1974 was the least productive. By then, the SALT talks had ground to a halt. Several commercial agreements had been blocked in Congress because of Soviet treatments of Jews, and the Watergate investigation was approaching a climax. Nixon's successors in the talks, President Jimmy Carter, supported SALT II, but also pressed a military buildup and a human rights campaign, good relations between the countries. With the election of Ronald Reagan, who emphasized military preparedness as the key to Soviet-American relations, the Tente, as Nixon had envisioned, it came to an end.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're going to go ahead and go back to you're kind of answer another question, right? So we just talked about Daytona. I want you to be able to explain what that means in your own word, and then I'll have you guys share out. Do I need to share the code again? Or are you guys able to see the question, the new question?
You need to share it again.
Huh?
You need to share it again in this decision for me.
Okay, here we go. I'll share it again so that you guys can all see it and we can all be on the same page. You will see the new question there. You can check me if you don't have access.
What? Okay.
Sorry. All right, I'm starting to see them come in. Thank you for being focused in this time. Jamie, is your hand up because you have a question or because you want to share? Huh?
I have a question.
Yes.
The code it's not working and says it's not valid for me.
I specifically said if you had a question, you can get access to message me. So you shouldn't have just been sitting there waiting. I resent it. Try it again.
Okay.
Can I share?
Let's give it a few more minutes, a few more seconds. All right, go ahead, Asani, start us off. What's détente?
Okay, I said détente is defined as a release from tension or peace in the world, as I would explain it. The potential benefits of this was no fighting in the world during the time, so no wars, and there would be peaceful negotiations. Having no wars would help some nations get back on their feet to not having to back down to communism.
Sienna, how would you define it?
I said. Oh.
Sienna.
I wrote. Hold on. It's not showing what I wrote anymore.
You can just define it in your own words right now.
Okay. Well, it says that it's the name given to a period of improved relations between the U.S. and USSR.
Excellent. Josh?
I said that détente is the release of hostility / stress between national relations. And I said some potential benefits of détente were that the US and USSR could alleviate their tension and make an attempt to avoid war. And SALT was created in order to limit arms control, which furthered, the limitation and prevention of war.
Excellent. Right, and so we used to think about this easing of tensions and trying to come to an understanding. And then in our next text, the last text for today, is actually going to help us evaluate whether or not this period, this plan of like peacekeeping and treaties, whether or not it was successful. So let's go ahead and go back to our text. I'm going to scroll down so that you can see it. Thumbs up if you can see détente in the SALT talks on my screen, on your screen. Great. All right. I'm going to have, there are only 3 here. Who have I not heard from today? They're Lee. Go ahead, start us off.
In the course of the Cold War, tensions rose and fell many times. One period of relaxation proved the relaxation developed in the early 1970s and became known as détente, a French word meaning release of tensions. It was hoped that the new relationship would herald a permanent improvement in relations between the U.S. and Soviet Union, but differences in outlook led to an increasing number of conflicts. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 effectively closed that chapter of the Cold War. The activities of President Ronald Reagan returned tensions to a fever pitch.
Thank you. Tempa, second paragraph, please.
Détente could probably
you guys listen. Détente. I keep saying it. Détente. Everyone say détente. I know I can't hear you, but
Détente.
Okay.
Détente.
Détente. Thank you. That's enough. All right, go ahead, Tempa.
Détente could probably not have taken place and certainly wouldn't have assumed the form that it did without the rift that had developed between the world's 2 primary communist regimes, the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China, PRC. Despite the fear many Americans had about monolithic communism, the 2 supposed allies had never been especially close. Joseph Stalin had not backed Mao Zedong against the nationalists during World War II, and his insistence that China pay cash for weapons during the Korean War was a source of grievance.
Emma, last one. The sound. What is happening? Rachel, your sound is also not working. I wonder if it's you guys' camera or what it is. Let's have Sanai read this last paragraph over.
Over time, the Soviets decided that Mao was unreliable and that China was a potential rival. When they withdrew their support of China's nuclear weapon program, the Chinese proceeded on their own, exporting their first atomic bomb in 1964 and the hydrogen bomb in 1967. But the late 1960s, a million Soviet troops faced a million Chinese troops across the Yuri, the easternmost part of border between those countries.
Great, thank you. We have my ability to unmute you guys is not working right now. So go ahead.
Okay. Move up your screen a little bit. Okay. The falling out did not go unnoticed. In Washington, D.C., President Richard M. Nixon concluded, despite the origins of his political career in virulent anti-communist activities, that the tension between the Soviet Union and China held promise for the United States. His national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, took the same view. Secret back channels of communications were opened through Pakistan and Romania, sending word to the Chinese that the United States was interested in ending its policy of attempting to politically isolate the PRC.
Our negotiations were being held in early 1970 with the Soviets while secret talks were going on with the Chinese. Nixon was attempting the Vietnamization of the Vietnam War, which meant withdrawing American troops and replacing them in combat with Soviet Vietnamese. Suddenly, at the end of April, Nixon intensified the conflict by bombing Cambodia to fight the North Vietnamese, supported Khmer Rouge guerrillas. The Chinese were publicly indignant and privately canceled the next round of talks. However, like the Americans, some Chinese leaders saw the advantages of a rapprochement after an eternal struggle within the Chinese Central Committee. Those favoring continued contact carried the day.
All right, great job. We're going to do this one more time, right? About whether or not you think it was a success or a failure and kind of explain why. And then once we finish this and you send me your responses, I'll be able to send you guys a homework link so you can get started on it early. So here's the code one more time. Every single person needs to respond before we can move on. So you should get started on that right away. Take, let's say, 5 minutes to get this done. Get a timer. Oh. 5 minutes getting started. Make sure you use evidence.
Miss EJ, is it a link?
Yes, I just sent it already.
Okay.
You see it? I'm going to scroll up so that you can see more of the text. If you want to read it, it's not that much. responses come in right now. I have 0. I see you guys are working on them. Okay, I'm seeing them come in. Who is Marky? Why is that your name?
That's my name because it once I put it in like that for reading, and that's how it stayed like because I used Nearpod before.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay. Fiona, I have yours. Marcus, I have yours. Have yours, Vincent? Have yours, Hassan? All of you that have not responded yet, I hope that you are working on them. Right? This is your basically like an exit slip for class. If you need me to resend the link, let me know. Show me your fingers how many more minutes you need if you are still working. Just show me your fingers. I will do 2 more minutes. Make sure that you are responsive and please. One minute. Okay, let's see who I have so far. I have Girlies, I have Emma, Fierno, I have Sienna, Alexis, Jolie, Tempa, Michelle, Vincent, Josh on desktop, Carlito, Elijah, Marquis, Jalen, Hassan, Bryant. Those of you that do not have it, right, participation is mandatory. So it's not really an optional thing. And I'm sure that Mr. Ernest told you guys earlier, if you're not active in your classes that is going to consider an absence. So if you didn't get a chance to get that in, I need that last one completed so that you do not be marked incomplete. If your Nearpod is not working, I will just copy the question. I'm going to copy the question right now, and you can chat me your answer if it's not working for you. So let me copy it now. So that if you do not have a chance to submit that, you can just send it to me. All right, can I have a few volunteers share out? Amari, let's see if I can unmute you.
All right, so wait, 1 second. All right, so I said it was successful because either like, gosh, what is wrong with my computer? Oh, I said like even with the Soviet Union accepting it or declining it is still like a good move or a good start because it's showing the effort the USA is making to try and make friends with other countries instead of being hostile and power hungry.
Great, thank you. Who else? Before we close out, let's have P share out. Clearly, my Zoom just does not work. What about Shakaya? Why am I unable to unmute you guys? Emma? Who is that? Why is this not working? Let me change this so that you guys are actually able to unmute yourselves because. Oh, 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
All right, so I muted you guys, and you should be able to unmute yourself once I call on you. So, Peace, go ahead and share. Racine, go ahead and share out.
All right. So what I said is that I think the salt talks was somewhat of a failure because they forgot they didn't prevent the arms race, and that's important. That's important because this arms race it provoked so much fear within people, and for Don, Don Dante, I think Dayton, I think it was a success because like now tension between the Soviet Union and the United States were over. Yeah.
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 All right. Excellent. I think a lot of you guys, looking at your responses, you did say that it was pretty unsuccessful and it wasn't able to actually maintain have peace between these nations. Really great job today. Amira, I feel you. Amira just telling me how like, it's kind of hard and kind of boring that you guys don't get to see or be with each other. I do understand that. Just, I don't know, try to hang in there. If you guys have any questions or concerns, like just feel free to let us know. Also use your advisors. Like your advisors are calling to check in on you guys, and that's the time where you can just like, if you just need someone to talk to about something, that person is there for you. I'm linking you the homework. It should not take you very long. It's pretty easy. I just linked to you right now. I would suggest you just get it done. Are there any questions before we close out? I see Josh's hand. Where are you, Josh? You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Can you resend the link?
Yes, I literally just sent it this moment.
Yeah, I need you to resend it, please. Thank you.
You are very welcome. All right, any other questions, Hassan?
Didn't we already learn about the Warsaw Pact?
Yes, we did. This is just kind of brushing back up. So you can actually do that without reading. It's kind of just brushing back up. All right. Great work today. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys. Give me a wait. Bye.
Abgedevki Jekomenap Kristuvixes.
What?
Abgedevki Jekomenap Kristuvixes.
I have no idea what you're saying, but okay.
That's the alphabet as if you were to say it in one word.
Who told you that?
If you watch Sesame Street, you would know it. Oh no, wait. Please don't end the call.
still need the link.
I just sent it.
I know. I need to copy it. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Everyone's good, right?
Bye.
Bye, guys.
What's up?
See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.